What's going on, guys? MLS Aces Podcast, episode 229. This is your host, Tom Sweezy. What a absolute hectic week it has been since last time we recorded and last time I recorded, chatting with Sam Stachel in that episode. Major shout out and major thank you to Sam. It was an awesome episode, awesome conversation, awesome guy. If you guys haven't listened to that, a lot of the stuff we talked about is way still relevant. So go listen to that. Great conversation, a lot of positive feedback on that episode. But this week, even more moves have happened, even more hectic transfers in and out of Major League Soccer relevant to MLS, US soccer as a whole, have been going on, and it's been absolutely fun to watch from a fan's point of view. I have to say, I am absolutely stoked. I am not a Stam Stachel, a Tom Bogert, a Paul Tenorio this past week, just because absolute craziness of the amount of moves that have gone on, the details of the moves, the celebrity of the moves from high name players, high name profiles, that I'm going to quickly go through some of my favorite moves of the past week before we get into the interview this week. But just a absolutely fantastic transfer window this summer, and it's really going to impact, obviously, who's making the playoffs, who's real MLS Cup contenders, who's making that deep run and whatnot. So I'm excited to dive into that in a little bit. But first, this week, we have a conversation that I recorded last week with Charlotte FC midfielder Brandt Bronico. Brandt was awesome. Really, really nice guy. Recorded it the week after their game with Toronto FC, which was the big Bernardeschi Insigne debut into Major League Soccer. Brandt got a little bit of an elbow to the mouth in that game, so you will see a little bit of scarring or stitching there going on. So just definitely giving you guys the heads up there, or if you're just listening, that could possibly be why. But great conversation. We talk a lot about his career. We talk a lot about Charlotte FC in 2022, the inaugural season, what's gone right, what's gone wrong, and everything kind of in between of all of that. And then obviously, his takes on just the league going on right now and, what to look forward from in the future with him, Charlotte, and everything like that. But before that, like I said, guys, it is maybe the craziest transfer window that we've had in the last few seasons. I have some notes over here, so I write it on paper because I still like to use pen and paper. So sorry if you see me reaching over here and flipping my paper around, but it was absolutely insane. And I think we have to start off with possibly the biggest transfer. I will argue it's the biggest transfer of the entire transfer window, and that is the LA Galaxy. Of course, the Galaxy doing Galaxy things, and even through poor performances, staying in the spotlight. And they signed from Barcelona, who was dubbed the next Iniesta, who was dubbed the next wonder kid out of the Barcelona system. Riqui Puig, I think is the Catalonian way of saying it. I'll probably just go with Puig so I don't mispronunciate the Catalonian way of saying it. But Riqui Puig coming over from Barcelona on a free deal. They negotiated it with Barcelona to be a free transfer. I think pretty much to get Puig's kind of finances off their books. Obviously, we know what's going on with Barcelona and their finances and everything like that. But this is going to be a 3.5-year deal, 3.5-year contract for the youngster. And I am absolutely stoked to see what he can do, what he can bring. Obviously, he was dubbed the next Iniesta for a reason. The raw talent is there. How he can transition over to the Galaxy, how he can transition over into Greg Vanney's system. We know Greg Vanney is one of the best managers in this league, and we know Vanney's been given kind of the keys to the entire Galaxy ship at this point. So I'm interested to see what the long-term plan is. Maybe Vanney kind of was just like an amazing talent and we have to get him in. Maybe Grant Vanney's like, maybe he's the 10 that can unlock everything. Maybe there is a long-term plan here for Puig, for the Galaxy and for Vanney there to kind of unlock things and be the next dude, right? We saw what success looks like under Vanney with a true 10 and two attacking players in front of them with Victor Vasquez, and then when we had Chicharito and Josie. I know Push isn't an exact number 10, but maybe that's what he can transition to into this system with him there, with Joveljic, Dejan Joveljic, and Chicharito. And then maybe you got Mark Delgado and, whoever else you want to play next to him sitting behind that. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens, but all I know is the sheer impact of this move is fantastic. We get to watch a super talented youngster come to Major League Soccer to revitalize his career. And I mean, obviously, the Barcelona name, the Barcelona tag along is pretty nice to see as well. But to complete this move, the Galaxy also had to sell Ryan Revelson to Ligue 1. So his time with the Galaxy and in Major League Soccer is over. Unfortunately, I would have liked to see Revelson and kind of Puig play together. But, I guess you have to make the moves, right, to bring in some talent. And I think this was all the right deal. I'm excited to see how it works out. It could have a major impact to be one of the greater deals we've seen in the last few years, but players bust. I'm not saying he's going to be a bust, but it happens, right? And let's just stay, I guess, in Los Angeles, out on the West Coast with big-time signings, big-time players. LAFC, they were a little busy this transfer window as well. They also filled their final DP spot. This one from a league veteran from Ligue 1, Dennis Bouanga from Saint Etienne. Saint Etienne were relegated last year from Ligue 1 to Ligue 2. So Bouanga, who has been a long-time Ligue 1 vet, I think he was looking for his next stop. I don't think he wanted to be playing in Ligue 2. So the Gabonese international, I'm not exactly sure. He plays for the country of Gabon as a winger, as a forward. He will be coming to LA to fill that final spot. Like I just mentioned, he is a winger. He can play striker, but he is a natural winger more than he is a natural striker. 74 goals and 32 assists in his career kind of just adds to the winger attacking depth that this team has with Arango, Vela, Bale, Brian Rodriguez, Opoku. I mean, it's absolutely insane how much just depth this team has overall, but depth this team has in the attack. I mean, LAFC, you've heard it from every other kind of media outlet surrounding U.S. soccer and Major League Soccer. There might be the deepest team we've ever seen in MLS history, and they're going for MLS Cup. They're going for a trophy this year, and I mean, that's that at the end of the day. Kind of sticking on the DP forwards, DP striker type conversation, Wayne Rooney and his era has been kicked off. Obviously, bringing in Ravel Morrison, he brought in Victor Paulson as well. Two guys who have a ton of experience over in Europe. Well, he just signed another DP, because I think Morrison was a DP as well. But they just signed a DP, this time from Crystal Palace, and the Premier League striker Christian Benteke coming over from Crystal Palace to Major League Soccer as a DP striker. This has been something that I've just fantasized about for years. I know Benteke's lack of goal scoring in the last few years is there. I am fully aware of it. I know Wayne Rooney and DC United have also signed like 15 other strikers this window. Just from a pure selfish fan of Christian Benteke and what he's done in his career point of view, I love it. I'm excited. I get to see him play a ton of soccer here in Major League Soccer and in the United States. And if he is the DP striker that Rooney is building around for the next few years, right, then it obviously shows kind of where the future of this club is going to be. Michael Estrada, it looks like that deal is going to be done at the end of the season. He's going to go back on his loan, I think, to Liga MX. Ola Kamara, he's going to be a free agent. Looks like he's not going to be returning. So it really looks like to me that the strikers that are going to be on this roster moving forward for 2023 and beyond are Benteke and Miguel Berry. And that just sounds awesome to me. Now let's kind of start rebuilding up that back line a little bit, Wayne. But so far, the pieces he's added in his short, I guess, kind of managerial stint so far of DC United has been fantastic. You hope the Wayne Rooney magic continues, and bringing in a dude who has over 140 career goals, playing for the likes of Liverpool, playing for the likes of Crystal Palace, I think Aston Villa as well, right? Like you're bringing in a dude who's a big name. He's going to sell jerseys, but I think his style could adapt well to Major League Soccer, the physicality of it, and I think he could definitely well be a pretty good DP, and maybe a little bit of a rejuvenation for his career over here in the States as well. I think I'm kind of just going down as far as maybe name wise list here of my signings here for the window. And I do want to apologize if we're only talking about signings, but obviously the past 2 weeks have been so crazy with signings that we have to talk about it, right? It's the All-Star game anyway, so enjoy the All-Star game this week and chill out with that. We'll get back into more Major League Soccer news, games, notes, and everything like that next week and moving forward as we get closer to the playoffs. But it's a window, right? These moves matter on the field, so got to talk about it. But the next one I want to chat about is FC Cincinnati. They get their defensive reinforcement. They get their long-time kind of center back that they've been hoping to get. And I think we're going on years now that they've been trying to lock down this dude. But USMNT international defender Matt Miazga is headed to FC Cincinnati on a free deal from Chelsea in the Premier League. Obviously, if you've paid attention to U.S. soccer over the last few years, you know who Matt Miazga is. You've seen him play for the Red, White, and Blue. You've seen him be part of Chelsea's loan army, going anywhere from Ligue 1 to Vitesse to La Liga to the Championship. You've seen him go around. You've seen him succeed. You've seen him not play well over in Europe. I think Miazga is the type of player that can come back in his prime to Major League Soccer and really just maybe have a Walker Zimmerman-esque career the rest of his career here over in the United States. I don't think he's going to be as good as Walker Zimmerman. I don't think he is as good as Walker Zimmerman, but if you can keep him not on a DP deal, he's going to make his money, he's going to be happy, and he's going to play good soccer, right? He's going to be one of the better center backs in this league week in and week out, and I think that's exactly what Cincinnati needs. Cincinnati's improving from the wooden spoon to now fighting for a low-end playoff spot, which is all you can really ask for in this, I guess, another reiteration of rebuilding the squad. And Miazga is going to be that dude that I think you can really build a back line around. I love the deal personally, and I think he's going to be very, very good for the rest of his career, whether that be in Major League Soccer or I guess maybe if he wants another shot at Europe. But I kind of hope he just stays in MLS. Talking about rebuilding back lines and bringing players back from Europe to Major League Soccer, 2 teams added right backs back to their roster. Richie Laryea coming back from Nottingham Forest on loan to Toronto FC. I think for the rest of this season and possibly for the rest of next year as well. I'm not exactly sure about that last part, but I do know he's definitely on the TFC roster for at least the rest of this year. And Kyle Duncan coming back to the New York Red Bulls on loan from the Eredivisie. I'm not exactly sure of the club. I forgot it off the top of my head, but he's coming back on loan as well. 2 dudes coming into 2 clubs that are in win now mode. I know Toronto FC with the slow start, but obviously with the additions of Marc-Anthony Kaye and Insigne, Bernardeschi, they're looking to win a trophy this season, next season, whatever it may be. And the same thing with the Red Bulls. They're in a prime position to go on a MLS Cup playoff run and be MLS Cup contenders. Kyle Duncan, Richie Laryea, we know what they can do in Major League Soccer. We know the top outside back talents in Major League Soccer. And they're just going to push TFC and the Red Bulls respectively into that next step. You're not going to want to play either of these teams in the playoffs. And, both of these guys can be attacking dangerous forces, but also obviously play strong defense to bolster those back lines that could use a little bit of help in those spots. And if we want to continue to talk about Sorry about that. I needed a sip of water there. There's a lot of news and notes. If we wanted to continue to talk about reinforcements for teams, FC Dallas just got that much better. They traded $600,000 in general allocation money to the New England Revolution for midfielder, attacking midfielder, central midfielder, whatever you want to call him, Sebastian Lletget, USMNT International. FC Dallas is just turning into like fringe USMNT location for all of them. Paul Arriola, Sebastian Lletget, Paxton Pomykal, and Matt Hedges, I guess, and the list goes on and on. Marco Farfan as well. But FC Dallas has just bolstered their roster a lot. They needed creative, not even creative, because I wouldn't say Lletget's the most creative player, but just attacking help from the midfield, just talent in that midfield, all honesty, to kind of add some depth and bolster things there. But I really do love the move here. I think Leget's still a great talent in Major League Soccer. He's going to start for this Dallas team, and Dallas just got that much better for a playoff run as well. I'm not sure if I talked about this next move last episode. I know like reports were saying that it was done, but I don't know if it was official. But it's official now. Gaga Slonina sold from Chicago Fire to Chelsea in the Premier League for a deal up to $15 million. And he will remain on loan with Chicago until January. And then that's where he'll head over to Chelsea, where he'll most likely train with Chelsea for the rest of the season and then go on loan starting for next European season. Obviously, you see players and you're wary of players going over to Europe too young. It's obviously a concern here. It's a worry here, but Gaga is a great talent. I think he can be the future and the long-term future of the USMNT. You just hope when he goes out on loan next European season, he goes to a right spot where he can train well, get minutes, and just continue his growth as a goalkeeper, because he's still a teenager, which is absolutely insane to think about. The Vancouver Whitecaps, they got better this window. They added a Bundesliga starter from last season in Alessandro Schopf. He was a starter for Arminia Bielefeld, who went back down to the 2 Bundesliga. But Schopf is like easily going to come into Major League Soccer as a starting talent, right? Especially this Vancouver midfield now with Gauld. Now you have Schopf added in there with the D-mid Andres Kubas. And those three honestly have an argument for being the best midfield pure like talent all around wise in Major League Soccer. They're not names that are going to immediately jump out at you. They're not names that are going to wow you as a casual fan. But if you watch this midfield play, now with Julian Gressel coming out on one side, now you have Brian White and Lucas Cavallini up top. I think the Vancouver Whitecaps can be a very exciting team. I would say maybe not this year. I would say maybe add a few more pieces, and the Whitecaps next season could be scary good. Could be scary good. I'm not going to like lock it in. I'm not saying it's solid, but Schopf added to this team. Maybe you get some cohesiveness heading into next season. I like the Whitecaps a lot, but we'll see. There's definitely on paper things work out sometimes better than actually in real life. Just some quick other moves that I want to chat about. Marcos Lopez sold from San Jose to Feyenoord in the Eredivisie. Apparently that deal was going through for a 7-figure deal, so they do get a nice return on their U22 initiative fullback. San Jose also adding a fullback from Cadiz in La Liga and also a center back on loan from Grêmio in Brazil. Good moves. San Jose sign a head coach, and then I'll critique the moves more to see where we're going in the future. Minnesota, they add Eltree international central midfielder, defensive midfielder Jonathan Gonzalez on loan from Monterrey. They also add a DP forward in Mender Garcia from Colombia. Minnesota, scary good. They've done this a lot also with a lot of dudes out on the IR, a lot of dudes who are done for the season. Gonzalez and Garcia just makes the team that much better. I think both guys, from what I've seen, can make Minnesota even more of a contender, especially if they both Bebelo Reynoso is balling out in that midfield. Robin Ludd's doing his thing either on the wing or playing a little bit more central, which we've seen him be highly successful at this year. I think Minnesota is going to be a good team. I don't know if I'm putting them up in the top of like Austin FC, Philadelphia Union, LAFC, NYCFC categories, but I think Minnesota could be scary and could kind of go on a 2020 MLS Cup playoff run like they did in 2020. The other team that I think really got better this window is also RSL. Danny Musovski coming over from LAFC for $250,000 in GAM. Brian Ojeda coming over on loan from Nottingham Forest. And left back Brian Oviedo, the longtime Costa Rican international, coming over on a free deal. I don't know if any of these guys are going to come in as immediate starters for the talent that RSL has shown and has put together so far in the 2022 campaign. But even if they're not, and they're spot starters or the depth pieces, RSL just got that much better. They haven't made that flashy, big, signing yet under this ownership group, but these are also the pieces that help kind of build that to make RSL, once they make that flashy move, that much more of a contender. So I like it. Think they got much better. Not going to dive too much more into depth about that. The final team that I'm going to talk about, and then we'll get into my interview with Brandt Bronico of Charlotte FC, is Charlotte FC. Charlotte FC saved all their signings for last. They sold Sergio Ruiz that dropped today to the Segunda Division in Spain. They were kind of losing players a little bit left and right, it felt like, after Miguel Angel Ramirez's departure. But they signed some dudes. They signed 3 dudes in particular, right as the transfer window was ending. They add a English veteran right back talent in Nathan Byrne from Derby County. They had a young French center back, Adelson Malanda from Ligue 2. And they also add a young attacking midfielder, Nuno Santos from Benfica. They do all of this with still leaving a DP spot open for 2023. So clearly the DP that they were after or wanted to get didn't happen this window, which is fine. It's year 1 for Charlotte FC, but I like that they still have that spot open to build off of what has been ultimately, so far, I would call it a successful year 1. But without further ado, I'm not going to dive too much more into it. Let's chat with Brandt Bronico about Charlotte FC, about more what's going on with them, their year 1, and maybe how some of these new additions could benefit Charlotte going for the rest of the 2022 season. So thank you guys. I enjoy you. Hope I was backwards. I hope you enjoy the conversation with myself and Brandt Bronico. If you guys haven't, make sure you subscribe, follow, like, whatever you got to do on any podcasting platform or YouTube, and I will chat with you guys. We are back with another episode of the MLS Aces Podcast. This is your host, Tom Sweezy, and this week I am joined by Charlotte FC midfielder Brandt Bronico. Brandt, how are you doing, man?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
No, I love it. I'm glad to have more players on, because when I do, I get a different perspective than talking to like another podcaster or like a journalist or insider, like whatever it may be, right? Like you get the player of the mindset of the person on the field actually doing the task, right? And going through everything like that. So I'm glad to get some different perspectives on the podcast for sure. But I want to dive in and kind of just talk a little bit about your career first, and kind of go from there. So obviously, a few years ago, you were drafted by the Chicago Fire. You played with them for 4 seasons. During your time there, you were able to experience, I think, a variety of different Fire teams, right? From ones that were fighting for the top of the Eastern Conference with a ton of talent, and obviously teams who were in the bottom of the East, teams fighting for playoff spots, whatever it may be. I guess, what are some lessons that you could take or you've taken from your time in Chicago with guys you've played with, like Bastian Schweinsteiger, right? Like a soccer legend in Basti, like lessons that you may have learned maybe through being a professional, being just kind of on a personal level.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of things that I took from being there, and I was grateful for my time with the Fire, especially because like you said, I was able to play with guys like Bastian Schweinsteiger, Dex McCarty, even Georgi Mihailovic. He was my locker mate for 4 years. So,
love it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I feel firstly, Basti and Dex, they were great. Just because they're midfielders, I'm a midfielder, so
yeah,
just kind of picking their brains every day and watching and observing how they play, and 2, how they saw the game, and then eventually being able to play with them. It definitely developed my game a lot. For instance, checking my shoulder more frequently, or maybe looking further up the field first, as opposed to the shortest pass first. Just little details like that. Where to take your first touch, how close you want your first touch to be next to you.
Is that stuff that you're implementing, I guess, into this season? Because as I'm watching Charlotte more and I'm watching you play, I feel like you're playing a little bit deeper. Maybe you've seen a Basti or a Dax, during those few years in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. I'm I guess the holding mid or number 6, whatever you want to call it for Charlotte. So yeah, what Dax played, his whole career, and what Basti kind of mainly played for Bayern in Germany. But yeah, I feel like last year, when I was on loan with the Independents, waiting for Charlotte FC to come into the league, I was really able to kind of not switch my game up, but grow my game a little more, and implement, all these things that I was learning, and bring it all into one season and say, okay, how can I apply this to my game? How can I apply this? How can I get better at this? To be ready for ultimately the inaugural season with the Charlotte FC, and so far, like personally, it's worked out really well.
Well, I mean, I have to say, and again, coming just from a fan's point of view, a dude sitting behind a microphone at the end of the day, you're the one putting the hard work in that, I really feel like I've seen a big jump in your game when I've been watching previous years, like more, I guess, of the fire years, right? Like compared to now, like you've excelled this season. So hats off to you for having a great year.
Thank you.
And you mentioned Georgi Mihailovic. Didn't know you were locker mates. That's really cool. I guess just in a quick, kind of diving into him real quick. He's obviously, before he got hurt this year, he was on USMNT radar. He was having an MVP caliber season. Like what, I guess makes Georgie just tick so well in that midfield wherever he's playing, honestly.
I think he sees the game so well, and he always knows what to do with the ball. He can anticipate things well. He can execute well, and he makes the right decision on the ball almost all the time. And obviously, he's a very technical player too, which you need. But and I think he's really coming into his own with Montreal, and I was bummed to see when he got injured because of how well he was doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm super happy for him. He's an awesome player, and I think he's going to do really, really great things with his career for one, and also with the national team.
No, for sure. I mean, I think, when you watch Georgie as a fan, right, there's no doubt that the dude's talented as hell, the dude's technical as hell. And then you put that all together. He's still so young. And, I mean, I think I'm the same age as you. So it's crazy to call someone so young and be like, a kid at the end of the day, because I still feel like a kid. But, it's crazy. So I think we're all rooting for Georgie, want to see him in the USMNT picture sooner rather than later as well. But let's dive back into you. So at the end of the 2020 season, obviously your contract hasn't picked up by Chicago, and you become, I guess, a free agent at that point, or you have more options to kind of pick wherever you want to go. I know Major League Soccer and its rules are always so interesting, I'm sure, for you guys. But I guess kind of what led you to, or how did you have your initial conversations with Charlotte FC?
So obviously Chicago, I think they told me pretty early, end of the year meeting, they're like, there's some teams that are interested in you, but we just don't see you playing with us here next year. We want to go in a different direction with the club. And I was like, okay, to each their own, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But they're like, we're not gonna decline your option right now, because they had 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks to where they could officially had to say they declined it.
Okay.
And they're like, there's some teams that are interested in you, so we're gonna try and trade you before then. Which I was like, okay, that's fine. I won't say anything.
Yeah, it's a business, right? You understand the business part, I guess.
Trying to just do the best for both parties, right? And I think a week later, just after I processed everything, I called my agent and I was like, hey, I'm sure you heard, I don't know if you heard, but Chicago's not picking my option up. Although if Charlotte FC is an option, I really would like to go there, before any other team comes in and might swoop me up. And he was like, okay, I'll call him. We'll see if there's interest. And, maybe 2 weeks later, he calls back when the option's officially declined. So when, you're allowed to start talking and whatnot.
Yeah.
And he says, hey, look, there's interest there. What kind of what do you want? And I was like, well, let's just see what they offer. And then, we can go from there. And luckily both parties were able to work it out. And I was ecstatic because I think if I did, because I wasn't technically a free agent, right?
Okay.
I think I needed one more year of service, or I don't know what rule it was. I needed one more. So I technically had to get traded. My right, because even
your rights,
Chicago, Chicago declined my option, they still own my rights. Crazy. I was like, this is crazy, right? Anyways, that's a whole nother story.
Yes.
So they I think it's traded for a 4th round draft pick or something something that's why is this even a thing?
Exactly. Just let the player pick where he wants to go at that point.
And we had to do it. We had to get the deal done before the re-entry draft.
Okay.
Because that's what I would have been eligible
for it.
Okay. Yeah, eligible. And there were some teams calling and they were like, hey, we're going to take Brant in the reentry draft. And unless, Charlotte we did the deal. And like, I
Yeah.
think it was like 30 minutes or an hour before, like everything was good. Everything was finalized. Everything was submitted. So I opted out of the reentry draft and ended up signing with Charlotte.
Awesome.
So it was pretty crazy, but it was, it's what I wanted, and I'm happy to be back home.
No, that's honestly awesome, right? Like, because like we see, I guess, like news breaking now of like what we saw with Julian Gressel when he was traded from DC to Vancouver, and like he didn't even know, his agent didn't know. So I'm happy that at least like in your behalf, in your story, like people were contacted, their
Right.
communication was
Yeah.
passed, and everyone got the end result that they wanted. But obviously all of that's happening during like COVID, right? Like during
Yeah.
prime COVID.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that added a whole other element to it. I guess, was it just like you said, like you just wanted to go back home during this time in COVID and, just play closer to home?
Well, I was like, kind of the idea of, being a part of something new and
Hmm.
helping build something from the ground up was special to me. And I was like, this could be
Hmm.
a really cool opportunity. And then you put on top of that, like, it's like my hometown, like MLS club. My friends and family are right there. So like we'd have a great support system. And I knew like some of the people within the club as well. So I was just like, this would be like an amazing opportunity just to
Yeah.
kind of, help, really start this thing from the beginning and give my all to invest in every day and helping the club get better and better.
And is that what, I guess, I probably a yes, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. Is that what led you to the loan deal with the Charlotte Independence last year? Kind of just staying around Charlotte, being able to, I guess, be around the organization still at a higher level if you needed to go communicate or be in the Charlotte FC offices, but then obviously, play your soccer locally as well.
Yeah, 100%. It's just kind of being around the soccer community,
Yeah.
helping build up the Charlotte FC brand, and also bringing, more awareness to the Charlotte Independence, and just creating the buzz around Charlotte soccer. And then also, I could, spend time with some of the guys in the academy and go train with them. Maybe give my 2 cents if they
Yeah.
wanted any advice. But really, just be around the club and start this thing from the beginning.
So, I mean, I would assume that you guys, like the guys who were playing on the Independence last year, like yourself, Adam Armour, Christian Fuchs, right? Like you guys have some type of maybe like just special little bond that you're like, we were with, on loan last year. Now we're starting this thing. Like we've been here longer than all you guys, like, like that type of deal.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a perk,
Yeah.
being around and playing with those two at the Independence, just knowing them longer and creating that
Yeah.
relationship earlier and knowing how one and each other plays. So I'm definitely glad, they also joined the Independence before Charlotte FC started, because I think it really helped our relationship going in,
Mhm.
and kind of created, maybe a little bit of culture before the real thing started.
I mean, you have to create that culture, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you've been around locker rooms where it's just like maybe a ton of talent, but everyone's kind of playing for themselves type of deal. So you need that club culture. So I'm glad that was started at least a year in advance, right? And kind of leading into, I guess, Charlotte FC year number one. I have to ask, 70,000 plus at a home game. Like, how was that walking into? Because that had to have been like sick.
It was incredible. I know, I was like, when people ask me this, like I can't even,
Yeah.
the words like just they don't do it justice. Like walking out, I have like goosebumps. Like I felt like I was just like about to like cry. I don't know, like 3 or 4
Yeah.
times, like just overwhelmed with emotion. And I was like, why am I like getting emotional right now? Like I'm about to play a soccer game, but it was such a special night. I mean, bummer that we lost, but just like to have, Charlotte FC, professional MLS soccer finally in Charlotte,
Yeah.
and the whole city, kind of behind you, supporting you. It's something special that has continued. I mean, our supporters, our fans, they're amazing, and Charlotte soccer is here.
Yeah. How loud is it? Like, I would assume like you couldn't even hear
I
like someone
couldn't,
else.
yeah, I
Yeah.
couldn't hear you couldn't hear anything. You try to talk to your teammate, you can't hear. It was
Yeah.
just like it was insane.
Well, obviously, year one has obviously been filled with some news where it's good and bad, and I'm sure there's a lot going on there. I'm not going to ask you about any of that, but we've had impressive wins. We've had, you guys having some road issues, a transition in head coach. I mean, for you personally, and then your opinion and kind of overall the club year one. How do you think it's going for Charlotte?
Me personally, I think it's going really well. I think whatever maybe over people would say like I'm overachieving or over
Hmm.
exceeding, but I mean I know like how much work I put in. I know
Yeah.
what to expect from myself. Like I know what I want, so it's like this is what I kind of expected for myself,
Hmm.
to be in this position and to help the club as much as I can. Um, and then for the club, it's maybe a little more than what you would see in like a normal expansion team with the
Off the
road
field
woes,
stuff.
yeah, off the
Yes.
field stuff, right? But as a player, you just focus on what you can do and,
Yeah.
and what you control. As a player and as a person, that's all we really can do, right? Is like, okay, what can I focus on? And then when I can't focus on, I try not to give that try not to give that too much time or energy.
And
Um,
I can only imagine that at the end of the day, Brant, winning cures all. If you're winning,
yeah,
you
yeah.
guys are playing attractive soccer. Like no one cares. At the end of the day, no one's gonna care. So I would like to throw that my 2 cents in there.
Yeah, no, for sure. Winning definitely cures all, and we need to go on a win streak. Starting this weekend would be great.
Yeah, I know you guys unfortunately got the I was saying this too. I know a few fans down for Charlotte FC. You guys unfortunately got the Italian invasion going on last weekend. So it's gonna happen, right? Insigne, Bernardeschi. I mean that had to have been cool to see a field against them, but the scoreline maybe not the coolest.
Yeah, it's like I had to get like stitches in my lip at halftime.
Yep.
I don't know if you can see that,
Yep.
but oh god, no, it's not a great night, and
Not a
for
great night.
me or the team.
Yes, no, for sure, for sure. Well, I mean, speaking of, you guys have an Italian of your own, right? Your new head coach, Christian Latanzio. How's he been as a manager, kind of leading things? Obviously, he was part of the coaching staff from day one. Now he's taken over full reign. How are you guys adapting under Latanzio full time?
Christian Latanzio is amazing. Like the whole like the team loves him.
Yeah.
I love him. I think the club in general loves him. Like
Hmm.
he's he's such a great coach. He sees the game so well, and he conveys his messages and like he's very detailed. So when we work on something, it's like, oh wow, like I didn't know I could do that better. And he worked a lot individually with me before. He had 30 other guys
Yeah.
that
To
he,
worry
that he had to
about.
worry about, and he got the big gig. But and he's always he always and I tell people when they ask me about Latanzio, I think he has helped me personally and the way I play more in the past 6 months than everything I've learned maybe in the past like 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
Like it's incredible how he sees the game and his experience. It speaks for itself. He's worked with some very high profile players, but I mean I love playing under Latanzio and I love the way he sees the game and we didn't have like a full preseason under him, so we're kind of going through that like transition phase of like how he wants to play, how he wants to
Yeah.
defend, and which is normal. But I think once we really adopt what he's doing and hit the nail on the head with it, I think his tactics will be really good because he has really great ideas about the game.
So I guess when his ideas are fully implemented, obviously once you guys get more time to adapt underneath them fully, and the entire team can kind of, I guess, buy in more to his style. Do you feel like the Charlotte FC squad is a playoff squad in 2022? And I will just preference your answer by saying I personally believe that you guys are, but I just want to obviously to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we have such a great team. We have so many great players. It's just about us clicking and
Yeah.
doing what we need to do and working for each other on the field. I feel like that's just like the most important thing is building chemistry and working for each other while also showing off our ability and implementing our talents. But yeah, I 100% believe we're a playoff squad, and I think we're right on the edge of like going on that
Yeah.
run and gaining momentum, picking up those points heading into playoffs.
And I'm sure Charlotte FC fans are pumped to hear that. You mentioned building chemistry, right? I think building chemistry off the field is just as important as on the field. What is like, Brant, like you're texting who? Let's go hang out, let's go golf, bowl. Like what's your off the field chemistry builder?
I like to go golfing.
I
Obviously I
could
have
have
a
guessed that. You look like
yeah.
a golfer. You look like a golfer.
I hope that's a good thing.
It is a good thing.
I have a wife, so I spend a lot of time with my wife.
Yeah.
Because she's so important in my life. But when I'm able to get out and hang out with some of the guys, I usually kind of gravitate towards a lot of the, I guess, college guys, just
Mm-hmm.
because I know what they're going through,
Yeah.
and we can relate about like we played in soccer in college, the grind and everything like that. So maybe like George,
Mm-hmm.
Marks, and Koa, Quinn, like all those guys. So we like to go golfing and then give each other crap and just have a good time. But that's really like kind of like my off the field go to.
Gotcha. Well, I can get it, right? Like golf is definitely that. I feel like it's a bonder just because I shoot. Well, I'll probably shoot like a 130, but
Oh,
if
I'm not great. I'm not great either by
yeah,
any means.
if I'm having a beer or two or four, it's a good time. But
Yeah, you spend a while out there, and it's just fun.
the one, I guess, one guy I want to ask you about who did come through the college system being Ben Bender. Like when I watch him, I see a little bit of Georgie in him. I don't. You've had the chance to, I guess, be around both of them. Do you see that, or do you see what Ben, is doing because he's playing at a really high level this year one for him?
Yeah, Ben, he's a very good player, and I think he's one of those guys that's only going to get better.
Yeah,
He's committed to working hard. He's committed to developing his game. He's very intense when he's on the field, and then off the field, he's Ben, right? He's just like a laid back, funny dude.
okay.
But yeah, I can definitely see what you're saying.
Like the intensity in him, I almost feel like that's what I'm seeing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like Ben's maybe a little bit more of a dribbler, where
Okay.
Georgie's kind of one of those guys that's like, I guess like penetrate to get into the box to score, kind of like
Yes.
one of those. And like Georgie's got to pick out the pass and score. Ben's like, let me try and dribble and get out of space and then pick out a pass.
Got it.
But yeah, I feel like Ben, like the sky's the limit with him. Like he can achieve some great things.
Oh, well, I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see his development, especially for you guys, because he's definitely seems like a very key piece of the team there. I want to steer away from your career. I want to ask you more general questions because obviously there's a World Cup coming up in Qatar. Who better to ask about professional soccer than a professional soccer player? So when you're looking at this USMNT group, and I'm sure you pay attention to the USMNT when they're on the field, right? There's a lot of positives, I think, going into this fall, and obviously the midfield being like, I think, one of the strengths of this squad. You got Tyler, Weston, Eunice, Luca De La Torre, and a plethora of other dudes in that midfield as options. I guess when you watch them, like, is there one guy that stands out to you the most? And I guess why do they stand out to you the most?
Man, they're all such great players. I like watching all four of them.
Yeah.
Just because what they bring to the game. Like, I feel like maybe I steer towards Tyler Adams the most, just because I played against him and I know like how, like, I don't know how he came up, but like I know from his like pathway from Red Bulls to Europe.
Yeah, you saw it more like in your
Yeah,
face. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, and how much he's developed. I just feel like he's so much more of like a mature player now. He has that kind of leadership piece of him.
Mm-hmm.
So calm on the ball. I feel like Luca De La Torre is like very technical. He's an exciting player. Weston McKennie. Also his his soccer resume speaks for itself. He's great at like creating goal scoring chances and driving with the ball forward. Kind of the same thing as Eunice. So
Yeah.
all four of those players are just very very high level players, and I think will make the national team better for many years.
Well, I have three final questions for you. They're listener questions, and I think one of them, I don't even know if it counts as a question, but whatever.
Okay.
So, question number one, this comes from Vaughn Pullman. Actually, all these come from Vaughn Pullman.
Okay.
He wanted to know, do you know who Vaughn is? That was one of his questions.
I think I follow him on Twitter.
There you go. Okay, so Vaughn, if you're listening, I know you're listening and watching. There
If
you
not,
go.
I'll go follow him. But I definitely seen his tweets.
I just peer pressured you into following Vaughn. There
Nah,
you
no.
go. He wanted me to also ask. Well, I mean, and I want to know this too. What is the origin of a grind set also on your shirt right there?
No, the grind set. So I kind of came up with it in Chicago with a couple of my buddies out there. Because I've always been, super passionate about, I guess, like motivation
Mhm.
and kind of like the mental health side of things, but like
Yeah,
self discipline and like pushing through things and dealing with adversity and taking advantage of opportunities and everything like that. So people are like, oh, you got to have a strong mindset. But then like you have to have a great work ethic as well,
yeah.
and it's like like a grind. You got to deal with the grind. So we just said like, what if we just combined the two? Like you got a strong mind, you got a strong grind. Like you can just have a grind set.
There you go.
So it's like best of both worlds, and it's just kind of like you put everything into like what you're doing. Your heart, your soul, your body. The blood, sweat, the blood, sweat, and tears that come from it. Like that's the grind set. It's just like doing everything you can to go after, what you want to achieve in life.
I mean, look, and I think that's totally fair, right? Like the motivational mental part of the game is, I think, one that's coming out more and
Yeah.
more recently for all sports, for all athletes, right? Of like kind of how important that is to keep your mental grind just as important as the
Right.
physical
For
grind
sure.
to it too.
100%.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I like it. Where can people go if they want to maybe buy one of those shirts or something else that that you're wearing right now?
They're all available on brandtbronico.com. There's a BB13 collection, so there's a selection of apparel that you can pick from. But we have the grind set shirts in white and black.
Okay.
So probably white for the summer, and then I guess black for like the colder months, so you're not
Exactly.
sweating too
Hey.
much out there.
Vaughn's last question and my last question for you for this episode is, who else on the team right now is on your level of grind set, on that grind set mentality?
Oh, I had to say George. Like,
Okay.
George is he always shows up early. Like me and him are always like the first two in the locker room, like by far more than anybody else that comes in. We're in the gym a lot. We stay after trainings to work on stuff a lot. Like I'd say like the other person that's like extremely committed is George Marks, is like another guy that has a very exciting future because he's a very talented goalkeeper.
All right, awesome. Well, I love it. I love hearing all these positive things about Charlotte. I'm rooting for you guys. Brent, I'm rooting for you as well. Thank you for coming on, man. And hope to have you back on soon.
Yeah, Tom, it was a pleasure. It was great to meet you, and happy to do it again.